Ezra chapter 9, verse 3, and it reads, it says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars in the people of the world. Shalom, first and foremost, like to give all praises and glory and honor to. Like to tell you how I want by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Makakadash. Double honors to the elders for preaching his word truthfully and sincerely. Yeah, shalom to the Akim, scattered in the four corners of the room, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely as well, too. And I say shalom to you Akim out there. And this is a recent news article. I believe it's a anti-protest of NATO, a U.S.-led bloc. I had one to the news article, but my connection is messing up. You know, like I mentioned before, you know, while I'm on the internet and stuff like that, you know, since I got Boost mobile service, they've been acting up for the past couple of days. So, you know, the internet been tweaked and stuff like that. So hopefully they can be able to load up so I can bring out the news article of the scriptures that I just brought out of the increasing uproars in the people in the world with the increasing protests and stuff like that. So I'm just waiting for it to load up. So yeah, just like I brought out the second Ezra 9:3, you know, it's going to be uproars in the people of the world, you know. And I spoke about this yesterday, you know, when they had the recent anti-war rallies in Washington, D.C. for the past 2 weeks. And then you had the protesters over there in Berlin, Germany, you know. So now you're starting to see once again an uptick of these protesters around the world, you know. I'm gonna go back to if I can be able to go to it. And this is the news article right here that I wanted to bring out. It's a lot about that. Hopefully it can be able to load up. So you've been having multiple different types of protests. You had one protest that's an anti-war rally. Now you have a protest that's an anti-NATO rally, you know. So these protests have been increasing around the world, like the scripture has mentioned. You know, uprising and uproars in the people of the world. That's why you're starting to see an increase of these protests. Now so more than ever, you know. And this is a news article from RT.com. It's as of February 26, 2023, from RT World News around the world. And it reads, anti-NATO protests hit France. And it says rallies against the U.S.-led NATO bloc and the supply of weapons to Ukraine have been held across France. Right. And then, like I mentioned before, and then across around the world as of recently, you know, especially over there in Berlin, Germany, you know. Then you've been having protests here in the United States with these anti-war rallies. Now you have an anti-NATO rallies as well too. And I'm gonna bring it out again for edification's sake. It says anti-NATO protest hits France. A rally against the U.S.-led NATO bloc and the supply of weapons to Ukraine have been held across France. It says multiple mass protests against France's NATO membership and its continuing supply of caviar were held on Sunday. And keep this in mind too, they still in the processing of trying to add Sweden and the country of Finland as well too to the NATO bloc. So I keep that in mind too, so I just want to add a note to that. But continue on with the reading. It says multiple mass protests against France's NATO membership and its continuing support of Kyiv were held on Sunday in the capital Paris. And I believe it was another protest. I believe it was a EU bloc, and then it was a EU bloc of a what you call those embassy of the United States. You had a protest around there as well too. I forgot what country it was. It was somewhat of a EU U.S. ambassador in some country. I forgot what it was. So you know, for the past couple of days, you've been seeing an increase of protesters around the world. Just like I mentioned again, the second Ezra 9 and 3. Now you're seeing the uproars and the people in the world. And I went into the book of Luke 21 and 25 of distressful nations with perplexity, with this continued uprisings and uproars and people in the world with these increased protests. And I'm going to read again. It says multiple mass protests against France NATO membership and its continuing support of Paris was held on Sunday, the capital of France, and the other locations across the country. It says he demonstrates taking place for the second consecutive week. The second consecutive weekend were organized the RIGHT wing led Patriots Party led by Florian Philippot, if I pronounce his name right, who personally attend the rally in Paris. It says the Politican claimed the event Sunday dubbed National March for Peace. When that comes to mind, 1 Thessalonians 5:3, for one they shall say peace and safety, sudden destruction come upon them. It says, but I continue on reading, so I just want to add a note to that. It says the Politican claims the event on Sunday's dubbed National March for Peace, attracting even more participants than last week, when some 10,000 showed up for a rally in the France capital. According to the Philippot, smaller scale of the Anti-NATO protests were held at some 30 other locations across France as well. And it says protesters marched through the streets of Paris carrying a large banner reading for peace. The marches called for the withdrawal of France from both the United States-led NATO and from the EU, and urged a halt in supplying weapons with weaponry. The protesters also took jabs at the incumbent French president. Right, and that goes into the I believe 2nd Ezra 15 verse 16. They shall not regard their kings nor their princes, but stand in the course of their act. Their power should stand in the course of their action. And that's what we see in that as well too. And it says the protesters also took jabs at the incumbent French president Emmanuel Macron, chanting "Macron, get out." I believe he's a liberal type president over there in France. It says a slogan commonly used by exhorting anti-government protests throughout his presidency. It says, follow the march. Protesters held a rally by Philippot, who was filmed defacing NATO